okay. It's Sarina Heroy here with my girl,
Christi Nicolet.
and we're here to talk about something that we are very passionate and excited to tell you about and talk about, the Enneagram. And some of you guys, this may be completely new, and some of you might be connoisseurs of sorts. But
I'm making sure we're alive. We are. Look, there we are.
Oh, nice. Okay, so we're live. So if you guys have questions or comments, we might be able to see. We'll see who tunes in here.
We got one person. Oh, it's
That's you.
me.
It's you.
I know this
That's
too.
good.
That's so funny.
So we're gonna just dive right in and do a quick little introduction of what this Enneagram thing is, and just share a bit about our story with it, and hopefully just get you guys curious. That's kind of our goal here, is just get you curious. Just a real basic definition of the Enneagram. It is really a tool that helps you just answer that question of our soul that cries out, why do I do the things I do? And why am I the way I am? All of those like identity questions. It is a tool to help you answer those. And one of my favorite definitions is from this book that changed my life. We'll share some resources at the end here, you guys. So don't worry, and I'll put them in the comments too. So
Hey, Cheryl. Hey,
Hey!
Diane. Already curious, she said. Hey, Todd.
Nice.
Thanks for jumping on, everybody. This is so fun.
all right. So here's a little amazing definition of what the Enneagram is. So the 9 ways we get lost, but also the 9 ways we can come home to our true self. Put another way, it exposes 9 ways we lie to ourselves about who we think we are, 9 ways we can come clean about those illusions, and the 9 ways we can find our way back to God. So if you have never seen the Enneagram symbol, there is a symbol that goes with it, and it's a circle with 9 crossing points. You kind of see right there, right? And sometimes a lot of Christians can get a little scared by it because it looks a little bit like something else. But what it simply is, and what Enneagram means, Ennea means 9 and gram means draw. So it's a drawing of 9 points. And each of the 9 points is a different basic personality type or a different perspective. And I want Christy to talk about the perspective part about it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that fascinated me so much about it, is being able to have empathy towards others. In fact, the reason why I got started, I know this is part of my story, so I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I wanted to understand Jeremy even more. and it really did help me once we nailed down what his number was to see the world through his eyes, so that I could understand how he was thinking and I could better relate with him. Yeah. And not just that, but even my 13-year-old, they do say not to go too young for typing kids or anything, but she herself, like we've kind of been going into this with her, to be able to understand the world through her eyes has helped me parent her in ways that I don't know that I would have been able to do without this tool. So being able to you have your own perspective, right? And there are, as Beth, our teacher, has said, there are 9 valid perspectives of the world. Each one, we have our lenses, our glasses that we see the world through. Yeah. And we tend to think that everybody else sees the world through the same glasses. And a lot of times we can be offended when someone does something because we've got our glasses on, right? And we don't quite understand, like, wait, why would they do that? But they have a whole nother set of glasses that they're wearing that just means something totally different to them. Yeah. And so I've really found the empathy, the journey of kind of discovering this has really created empathy within myself, and created better relationships just all around, and helping me understand it myself too. Understand myself and then understand others. So I forgot where we were. We've got notes, so.
Do you want to talk about another way to understand, or do you want to roll into your story? Because you kind of already started.
I can roll into my story. Well, I do like this. I like the roadmap and the rumble strips.
Okay.
I do want to talk about that. And so when we have our glasses, right, and we've got our perspective, and we start to, the Enneagram kind of introduces us to what exactly glasses we are wearing. Like, that's how we find our number. We've got, oh, that's my perspective. And so I've used the Enneagram as a map, almost like a road map. So when I found my number, my perspective, and it was like locating myself on a map. And as growing and growth started happening, we used something called, what Beth also calls them rumble strips. So our types all have, there's the good and the bad. and honestly, the Enneagram can feel very exposing because it will show even yourself things that you're like, oh, I thought that was hidden. And so for me, going about life, it's almost like if you're going on a highway and you veer off just a little bit and you start hitting those rumble strips, it kind of jolts you back up. That's what the Enneagram has done for me. Yeah. It's helped me recognize behavior. Oh, that's why I do what I do. And it kind of just wakes me up to it. Doesn't mean I always, sometimes it's a little bit after the fact, but it does always end up landing me there at some point.
Or you just stay on that rumble strip and you just stay steady and you're not going to move. Even if you're supposed to get back in your lane, it's like, no. Staying on the rumble.
Sometimes.
Just kidding. Sometimes.
No, sometimes. It's hard. Growth is hard, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Growth is hard. But I have definitely found that this tool has been probably the most effective and most impactful for myself. And that's and I will lead into my story with that. So I have always kind of been a personal development junkie, I'll call it, right? I read the books, yes. I read the books, I do the things, I go to the different things, and I want to learn myself, and I want to learn how to interact with others. And since I was probably about 15. And I think that's what really stopped me in my tracks with the Enneagram. About a year ago now, I guess, it kind of kept coming up, as probably some of you may have experienced. You hear the word pop up here and there, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever that thing is, another personality test. And I didn't quite pay attention to it. But man, Holy Spirit is so good. I feel like he brought it into my life right when I needed it. And what it did was as I started digging it, first I'll start with this. I took a test, which we will talk about a little bit later. I took a test, and it labeled me as something called the achiever. I was like, yeah, look at me go. I'm totally the achiever, which Sarina is genuinely, and wish I was.
Except when I got my results, I was like, oh, crap.
But that's the key.
That's the key.
That is the key. Because what happens, you're close to your number when it kind of, like I said.
It's gotta hurt, man.
It
It's
does.
gotta hurt. You can't be proud of it. If you're proud of it, I would say, gotta schedule a coaching session with Christi to maybe rethink this through. Because,
but it's so hard.
Because it should hurt so good. Like,
hurt good. That's
it's
good.
vulnerability, man. It's exposure.
It is. Yes.
So,
yeah.
So you thought you were 3.
I did.
Achiever.
I did. I was, and I wanted to be. And I started listening to a few podcasts, a few things, and something came up about what I actually am, a 7, and I was like, hang on.
Which is the
enthusiast. Enthusiastic. I don't know, excitable and whatever. Adventurer, yes. But there was some. It wasn't. I'll say this: it's a little bit easier to identify your number by the things that poke at your vulnerable spot.
Yeah.
And that's what caught my attention. There was something said about the 7 that just didn't sit right with me, and I was like, hang on. I should probably investigate this just a little bit more. And the more I did, the more I realized, oh my gosh, no, that is me. And the core fears, so this is one of the things that drives the Enneagram and helping you understand what number is yours, is, I don't know if I'm on topic here, but I think I'm off topic. The core fears and desires. Yeah, and that's what caught me off guard. It said something, the podcast said something that made me think, oh gosh, I think this is actually me. And the more I started digging, the more it hurt so good, as you said, that I was like, how did I not know this about myself?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, that's a
I was
tell.
like, especially like, we do personal development. Like I've done this for like how many years now? How did I not know this behavior or about myself? And it was such a beautiful journey. I will say this, the first part of my journey felt a little disorienting. it was like, and there are still points where that happens, but it's more settled now. But that first time that I recognized my number, and I started kind of digging into that internal, the core fears, the core desires, the core needs, and the different ways that I would go about to either protect my core fear or get my core needs met that were unhealthy and felt really ugly to myself. And what I did is I totally brought Holy Spirit into that. And I even took communion that first couple of weeks because it felt so raw. It felt so like, whew. Yeah. So I would sit down in the morning and I would say, okay, Holy Spirit, like, I'm ready to go here, but I need to remember that this is how you made me.
Yeah.
I need to remember that it really is Christ and your blood, like you coming into this space with me, like you have already paid for all of this ugly stuff that I'm looking at right now, and you can help me be my best in the world. Because obviously I feel like God was saying something in the world when he created us. Every person, he's breathing through us, right? And we each have our own sound. We each have our own part to play in this world, and we need each number. And that's what I love too. I love learning about each number and the gifts and talents and how we all interact with each other, and what we each bring to the table.
Something you're saying, Christi, that's so good, was about in the book I read the definition from, the Sacred Enneagram, talks about this idea of original righteousness. Like, we hear about this concept of original sin, and we're so easy, especially like in like church culture, to just accept like, oh, we had a sin nature and Christ died for us and all this, but like, we gotta fight our sin nature off or whatever, and we're not like realizing the finished works of the cross, the full message of the gospel, right? But something that the Enneagram mentioned again was this idea of original righteousness, right? Is that what I said? And how you have to believe that you're from something good. You're from God. You are his child. If you don't believe that you are originally his child, then you're going to have a hard time trying to discover who you really are, because you might think that who you really are is still this dead old man. But when you realize the full work of the cross and the gospel and the redemption, and how it's what happened with our sin nature was a blip and not who we really were, but covered who we really were, but that was done away with, and then like who we are truly called to be, and from our makeup, and when God wove us together in our mother's womb, it was good, it was holy, it was righteous. And so the Enneagram helps you like wake up to that. Like, yes, it points out some of the rumble strips, or some of the shortcomings of our personality that it's just like falling asleep. Like, we've just fallen asleep to who we really are. And by knowing these tools that the Enneagram describes of our personality type, why we do what we do, our core motives and fears, like Christi was mentioning, it wakes us up to like, wait, is that who I really am? Or is that just what I've been asleep to and is what I'm just used to doing? And so it's the Enneagram's like a call to wake up. It's revival, you guys.
I love it. Yes,
it's like, true. If you want a formula for revival, it's like, hello, here you go. So,
you know what? And in light of that, I will say, in light of what we're in the world right now, to be honest, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about how we can have true empathy for all sides, right? Because we each have our glasses, and if you embrace the true work with Christ coming into it with you, if you embrace the true work of uncovering and learning the Enneagram and learning how to have empathy for other people, gosh, so we need that so bad right now. We really do. And I think that having a tool like this I feel like it's like just the right time for it. I mean, I know it's been around for a really long time, which we'll get into maybe another time.
Another time. We're not time for that.
We're trying to keep this short, but it's hard because we both love talking about this. So and there is a lot to talk about. It can feel really complicated. And I think that's maybe what some people avoid
Yes.
Or they'll take a test and they think, oh yeah, I already know what I am.
Or you take a test and the basic description of each type is like, doesn't sit right. That's because within each archetype, we'll call it each archetype, like each 9 archetype, there's so many multifaceted ways that type can look.
Yes.
You know, like subtypes, drag types, you know, like wings and all this stuff that like can affect, because people are complex. And that's the thing that I think one of the things I'll say quickly about the origin of the Enneagram is that it was put together from studying humans, not put together for humans to fit, you know, like a lot of other personality tests. It's like, are you this, and fit the mold? Where do you fit in this mold? It's like, no, this was kind of birthed out of a place of humility, of just wanting to understand who we are, why we are the way we are. And that's proven to be like super like multifaceted and like not pigeonholing at all.
I have come across people who that's their resistance is almost like, you can't pigeonhole me. And you can't. You can't.
And if someone's using the Enneagram to do that, that's not what it's for.
That is not what it's for.
They're abusing it.
That's true. It is so true. It really is. And I think even when I am a certified coach, as you put on our little graphic, and one of the things that I have wanted to be is very respectful of the journey, because it's such a personal journey, and to misuse it, like you were just saying, it almost cheapens like what it can be.
Yeah, totally.
And so I want to be really, really mindful of that. And I know you too, because Sarina is also getting certified.
Yes, my journey is very different than Christi's. My journey is like, talk about Enneagram journey. It's its own like self-awakening, and it's, oh man, it's been crazy.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's messing me up in good ways.
Mess.
Yeah, it's a beautiful mess. That's right.
Yeah, so that's why we want to do this together, and I'm positive this isn't going to be the last time that we get to do some work together, because I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah.
Well, let me share a little bit about my journey. I kind of was already throwing little nuggets out there anyways. And this is great because like we wanted a lot of elements of this to just kind of come up organically as in a conversation of just like talking with friends, if it was like, what is this thing anyways? But a little bit of my story with the Enneagram, it's pretty recent. I only discovered this, not even 2 years ago probably. And it was through podcasts I listened to a lot of, you know, leadership, church, like ministry, like self-improvement podcasts. Cause like Christi, I'm a self-improvement junkie in a way, you know, just like, I like abundant life. I'm like, if I got this life to live, I'm going to squeeze every part of it out, you know, that juice, like squeeze part of the juice of that lemon out of life, you know, cause it's like, I want to be efficient. I want to be like good. I want to like get the most out of it. Right. And that's a part of my personality too. But in any case, like, so I was listening to a lot of like leadership development stuff, and the Enneagram kept coming up, and I was like, all right, I gotta look into this. So I looked into it, and it was just like, oh no, like in a good way. Like, because, and the thing that I loved the most about where I was like, this thing is for real, was because it was not a personality test. It wasn't a leadership track. It wasn't like, this is how you get better, do A, B, C, D. It was like meeting Holy Spirit. It was like hearing that, you know, that voice, that still small voice. It was like this tuner that just made it like I was on the wrong station all this time, and I just had to turn it a bit, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much more clarity now to hearing from heaven and hearing God's voice of just who I really am. And he's so gentle and like leading you through, but man, do I love working hard. I love like, tell me what's wrong and I will fix it. Like, I'm not afraid to go there. And that hurts so good. But one of the journey of finding my type, though, I was really skeptical about it because I had heard about all this mistyping stuff, and I was like really nervous about that. And when I took the test, like, I immediately got a 3, but I was like, I don't know. I don't like that. Like, I don't want to be an achiever, you know, like, and it sounded like the CEO kind of person. I'm like, I don't think I'm like that, you know, but but then once I heard about the core, I read about the core motives and the deeper description about like this need to, this drive for worthiness, just for trying to find value and trying to find it through other people's validations, like this desire to be admired and wanted for me, not for what I do, but I cover up that core desire to be wanted for me by performing so that people will need me around, and in case like them just wanting me around isn't good enough. And it's just like, ouch, like that like really hit me. And then it's like the deeper I go, the more I realize like, oh my gosh, how much am I doing out of performance or out of like trying to get affirmation from people instead of like really who am I, like who did you make me to be, God, and all this. And one of the things that is just so inspiring that we'll share in our resources, but when I listened to Sleeping at Last's Enneagram album, this musician, artist, songwriter, song poet, wrote a song for each of the 9 types, and his track for 3 it went right to the core. It went right to my core. The first line, I was weeping. Maybe I've done enough. And it's like, that's like, at the end of the day, I asked myself, have I done enough? So when you allow yourself to just really be open to what this tool has to offer, it really does this beautiful work of just like breaking down all the parts, but then showing you how to come through it. It's not just leaving you broken or leaving you exposed. It's showing you how to come through it. Right. So that's a little bit of my journey. And then, of course, I mentioned it to leadership at the church because I was like, we got to do this. If we're going to be an efficient, like, well-running church, we need to know who we are. And thankfully, leadership was like, it took some convincing. Thank you, Tyler Johnson, for helping convince that. Shout out to you, man. Because it wasn't until he, gave a little tidbit to it that it was like, all right, they got into it, and they, it's been awesome, and they invited us to share on this, on the church page about it because of how impactful it's been and the fruit they've seen, too, in their own journeys. So love that. So, okay, let's see. We've kind of already talked about a lot of what we wanted to. Yeah. Not a personality test. It's about your core motives. Yeah. Oh, I want to mention that it's not a shield or a sword. We kind of touched on this a little bit too, but when you know your type and you know parts of like why you do what you do and discovering like more about your motives and all of that, sometimes we can use it as a shield to protect us and validate our behaviors to stay where they are instead of growing. The Enneagram's about growing. It's not about staying in those habits. It's about knowing that, like, turning the lights on to them so that when you're acting out in them, you can observe and then pivot and do actually what your heart or wants to do, and not just what your habits are. And then also, it's not a sword to use against people of saying like typing people is such a temptation. It's when hard. It's hard because there is this element of empathy that's really beautiful. Yes. That does give you this gift of being able to understand people better and have more grace for them, because you're like, oh, they totally are seeing this different than I am. I can give them some grace for that. Yeah. But then it's like, they're such an 8 right now. Oh man,
I like that you used 8.
His 8's coming out really strong, or her, whatever, But that's not what it's for. It's not to do that to people, because again, someone's behavior could be totally different. We don't know their heart. Only God knows our heart, and so yeah. So it's not a shield, and it's not a sword.
Well, let's touch on that, on the behavior and the motives behind it.
Sure.
Because that's one reason why typing other people, you literally can't do it. Like, you can't. It really is your journey. Like, it was my journey to come forward and say, this is who I am. Or, like Jeremy, I thought he was one number. I mean, he even thought he was for a while. We thought he was an 8. And then through like discovering and him looking into it more, he was like, no, that's not who I am. I'm actually a 5. But it was his to bring forward.
Exactly.
And now it makes a lot of sense now that he's explained that, or now that we've kind of discovered that. But so, and the reason is, it's not about behavior. It really is core motivation. So let's say, for example, I've heard this story of a group of people, right? So let's say a group of people wanted to go to the movies, but I really wanted to go bowling, and I'm a 2, okay? Which is a helper. We love to help. We're very relational. We love to help the group. I know what this group needs. I know what you need, and I can help you. And I do. And I do it well. Even if you don't ask for it, I do it well. So that's what it too is. So let's generally, yes. This is, I know, I'm sorry. It's hard.
I know, we gotta like keep it clean for the sake of explanation.
Yes, right, okay. So 2, and let's say the group wants to go to bowling. I want to go to a movie. I'm a 2. I will concede what I want to do for the good of the group. Like, I will say, okay, I'll go. But it's a sacrifice for me, okay? So now, let's say I'm in a group and I'm a 9, okay? And
the 9
is the peaceful, like, we're the peacemaker.
Yeah, afraid of conflict, just wants to go with the flow, make sure everybody's voice is heard.
Yeah, they want everyone to have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
So,
we need peacemakers.
But I love the 9s in my life.
9s are at the top too on Enneagram, just saying.
I love the 9s in my life. But they're very self-forgetting. Like, they will they like numb themselves out so that they can pay attention to everybody else. And so, right, same behavior of, okay, yeah, let's go to the movies, even though I really want to go bowling. But what happens is that desire, what they really wanted to do, they're going to meld it with the group. So it's not a sacrifice to them. It doesn't feel like a sacrifice because they can kind of take on the feeling of the group. So on the outside, it's going to look the same.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're going to go along with the group and we're going to do what we want to do, but very different underlying motivations. It's like deep reasons.
Yeah, like another great example is why you clean your house. Like, for one person it'd be because it's the right thing to do. You got to have a clean house. Like, there's other people living here. That's what you got to do. For another it'd be like, well, I can't get anything done unless it's a clean house. I need a clean space. Another it could be like, well, I want to be helpful, like taking care of people.
Or when you come into my house, I want you to feel welcome. I want you to feel really good when you come into my space.
Or I really want to impress you with like how clean and tidy I am.
Or this mess would get in the way of all of my fun, so I need to keep it clean so we can have fun.
So behavior's the same, clean house, outcome, but the motive is completely different.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the beauty of the Enneagram. It gets at that core motive where we're not, and you can't judge someone else's actions because you don't really know.
You don't.
You don't really know.
You don't.
So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Our goal is to not necessarily go into each type. We're going to try and say that for another time because to try and touch on all 9 types in a really respectful way, I'll say. I don't want to say in depth. There's like hours and books on just each type and subtype and all of that. But we'll save that for another conversation. But we've touched on them a little bit. But again, just if you are curious to learn more, we want to give you some resources, some really great things to that you can that are free even to go and check out. A few websites we want to throw at you. So do you want to talk about your Enneagram? Because
Yeah, the yourenneagramcoach.com. She is fantastic. They actually just launched a podcast just a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah, and it's so good.
It's so good. Highly recommend it. They were just going over money and how each type,
finances.
That was so good. Real good. So your enneagramcoach.com. They have some free resources there.
They have a free test.
Yep, free test.
That was the first test I took actually, and it was pretty accurate. And okay, we will say one tip. And if you want to take a test and you don't know your type, or you want to retake a test or whatever, take it slowly.
Yeah.
Make sure it takes a lot of self-awareness the more honest you are with what you do, not what you think you should do or what you think is expected or how you wish you would act. You gotta really think of like, wait, how do I actually act when this happens? When like how the questions are, like, how am I actually? So the more honest you can be with yourself, the more accurate the test can be. So that's why I think some test results are really subjective, because like,
right. And I thought I was being honest.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I did. I genuinely thought I was being honest when I was answering the questions. Yeah. And I realized it's because that's what I thought I needed to be successful. Like, I thought... So that's why it resonated with me, right? And that's why I wanted to be that. Because actually 3s and 7s are very similar. In my way I viewed it was, yeah, but 3s actually get things done. I just get excited about them, get people excited about them.
Get things done.
And then I get bored, and then I go find something else to do.
7s suck the life in it all and do everything from A to Z and do it all, and then they're on to the next thing.
We do it all really fast, too. We're just like, all right, we're on it. Like, yeah.
It's like, oh man, like, come on, I'm stuck over here, like, still trying to numb through all these details, like, working for this guy, you're doing what you want to do, like,
But here's the thing, this is what's so beautiful, even, like, recognizing that about myself, too, and even bringing people into your world that can help bring those other things out in you. And that you can even, like, and it's funny, because even before knowing the Enneagram, I would do that on purpose, too. I would bring people into my world that were different than me, that had better strengths, in my mind, to do things that I can't do, so... Yeah, I went on a tangent.
Testing. We're talking about testing.
Which is
so just be honest and take it slow. If you take it in 20 minutes, you did it wrong, probably. Unless you're like hyper self-aware.
And it may be fine. Here's what I would say too. That take the top 3 possibilities.
Oh, right? Take the top 3, and then you can go to the Enneagram Institute, which is kind of like the standard of the Enneagram. EnneagramInstitute.com. These guys, like, they have full descriptions of each type on their website. So if you do take the free test from your Enneagram coach, you can take your top 3 and just kind of read through each type. And then whichever type really speaks to you, another great resource is that Sleeping at Last Enneagram album.
Yes.
Whatever song makes you cry and you can't get up off the floor is the song of your type. Unless you're really blocked up and you need a sozo. That's another ministry. But anyway.
But I'll say this too, just to take the pressure off.
Okay.
Actually, finding your number is a part of the journey.
Yes.
It's like, that is discovering your number is a part of the Enneagram journey. Yes. Because sometimes, like with me, right, I thought I needed to be this. Even though I was answering those questions as honestly as I could, it was almost like it was revealing to me my ego, right, that I've put out there, that I thought this is what I needed to be to protect what was really going on inside.
Wow.
And so it's discovering that, like, the actual discovery of that process for me was a part of the journey of, like, so I didn't land on it right away, but that's okay. And most people, a lot of people don't actually. And Beth always says, from your Enneagram coach, she says, if it takes you longer to find your number, usually you have even more growth, because, like, that means you were really tenacious about it. You were really willing to, like, go there.
Yeah. So just always hold your whatever type you think you are, or want to be, or what result you get if you're going to take a test for the first time. Just hold it with an open hand.
Yeah.
Like, always, like, I think, I got this result as a 2, but I don't know, there's parts about a 9 that really resonate, and then maybe even a 4. Like, I don't know, just hold it with an open hand and just discover. Be curious and dig more.
We can relate to a lot of the numbers. I mean, even still, over this last year. Really, we have, like, there's all of it in us.
Yes.
It's just that we have primary ones. We have, like, the primary...
Archetype. Yes, I love that term.
This is, like, the one that it's really who you are. And then there's other reasons why other numbers will feel real to you, too, because we'll talk about that.
All the lines are, like,
there's
connected.
There's more to go over, don't worry, guys.
There's reasons for the lines.
Yes. So, like she said, use it as hold it with an open hand. Try it on a little bit. Try it on. Feel it on. Like, is this kind of discovery? But, what I was going to say is, there's even times, even recently, that I'll be like, am I really a 7? And I'll try to, and I'll look at some things because I really relate to a certain number, and then it's like, no, I'm a 7.
Wait,
what's
that core motive again? Okay, never mind. Something I didn't write down, the podcast. There's so many great free podcasts are, like, free, you guys. So, your Enneagram coach has a podcast, The Art of Growth.
Yes.
These guys are awesome, and they have the panels, which I think really helped your journey, and hearing other people who identified with a certain type,
Yep.
they'll interview like 3 or 4 people who identify as a type, and you'll hear 3 or 4 different perspectives of that type because it is so multifaceted. And sometimes if you're really confused about what type and it doesn't seem to fit, hearing someone else who knows and talk about it can be really helpul.
Yeah.
So
The Art of Growth they're podcast. In my head. Look, there's more of me.
And
oh
then,
my gosh.
What are the others? I think listen to typology a little bit. That's more fun, more interviews and stuff. Then some books. The Sacred Enneagram. You guys, this is the best one for sure. Christopher Heuertz is just like, he's like the Yoda of.
Oh, I love that analogy. That is, that's
and he
perfect.
just has such grace and kindness. Like when you read his words, you feel grace being extended to you to like do the work to find who you truly are. And there is like, it is a Christian, I would say a Christian perspective, like definitely. It's not,
he's not overt. It's not like, it's not in your face. But it is spiritual, and he uses God. He comes from that same.
Sure. And then The Road Back to You is a great, that one's that orange book there by Ian Cron and Suzanne, I can't read her name.
Stable?
But Ian Cron's, he does the typology podcast too. But that is a great like intro to podcast to the Enneagram if you want like a quick understanding of each type and everything. Like I think it gives a great snapshot of each type. But yeah, and then what other book? I mean, I love The Complete Enneagram, but that's like a textbook by Beatrice Chestnut, which talks about like instincts. That's a whole other conversation.
That's we're kind of.
I know we're getting off track because we love this. I think we went way over like 45 minutes probably.
We should wrap this up.
I know my kids are probably like crying, screaming in the house.
I gotta go get Kaylin from youth group.
Oh, I know. Oh my God. Okay. Yes. So, any last thoughts? Okay, we'll post in the comments some of these resources, you guys, that we're mentioning, and even ones that we're not mentioning. Okay, so next video. Any kind of, if we do another video, we gotta go back and read through these comments to make sure you guys like this. And if you did, then maybe we'll do another one of these and can talk about each type a little bit. If you guys have questions about it.
Yeah, so maybe what you could do is you can like send out, like make a post where they can write questions on that one post or something.
Okay, yeah.
That way it's all together, right? Don't just like spam the page with posts. It could be like in one centralized place so we can get there and we can answer questions. And then, I mean, you can go to my website. It's still under construction, so just know that it's not perfect, but I have learned not to to be okay with that. So it's cnicoletcoaching.com. So cnicoletcoaching.com.
We'll post that in the comments.
We'll put it in the comments. Okay,
so if you are having a hard time finding your type, one of the most successful ways is through coaching, through Enneagram coaching to find your type. Like that is super, like, I think helpful. So
it is because you can ask questions, and I absolutely love it because I've been doing this even before I got my certification, just because I love it so much. And learning how to ask the questions to kind of just pull the numbers just enough so people can identify what their type is over another.
So do it. And pay her a lot of money to do it.
It's a free 15-minute consultation. And then we can see if we're a good fit.
This stuff is eternal, you guys. It's worth it. Anyways, okay, so we should probably end this.
Yeah.
We could probably talk about, whenever we meet, we always talk about the Enneagram, and we end up talking for hours. Like, I don't clock my time with Christi in minutes anymore. It's hours. And I mean that in the best way. I love it.
Oh, boy.
So, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And for those of you that are catching this later, thanks for watching. We hope we at least entertained you and made you guys curious about this wonderful thing called the Enneagram. So, bless you, grace to you, and we'll see you around.
Bye, guys.